Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Anime Podcasters with your host, me, Hotshot. Sorry guys, I am extremely happy to be finally talking about what we're talking about today. I'm your host, Hotshot Ginger, and with me I have my only roommate. No one else lives here but us. It's just the two of us, I swear. No one else. It doesn't matter what you've heard. GoProKyo, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
It's going fine. So, yeah, it's another episode of me and Kyo. And I know you guys like that. These are your favorite episodes. You can't get enough of just us. Like, just forget Jaden. But due to my musical outburst, you might already know what we're talking about. And I hope you do. You clicked on the episode. We're finally talking about One Piece. And I say finally because I've been trying to get Jaden to talk about it for months, or at this point probably years. Because One Piece for me is one of those shows that I've adored from the second I started, and I adore it now, but I'm going to get more into that later. I adore the universe, I adore the characters, the powers, the world building, the ships. It's just one of those things that I love. I know you guys have heard me talk about the games of it as well, and I'm just really excited to finally be jumping into this. Kyo, how do you actually feel about One Piece, or have I ruined it for you forever?
You have not ruined it forever. You haven't ruined it yet.
Oh, thank God.
I should hope so. So for me, One Piece was always one of those. It was always one of those shows that was like, I knew of it, but I never watched it or read it until a little later in my anime watching career, I guess is the phrase for it. I didn't really get into it until I was like a little bit. I think I had finished original Naruto before I started One Piece. Funny enough. So I was like 15 when I got into it. I
mean, to be fair, it is an older anime than even Naruto.
It is, yeah.
I mean, if you're sucked into a world as heavily as we both got sucked into Naruto, mm-hmm. I can completely understand not getting sucked into a world like One Piece, because there's a lot.
They're two very different flavors of shonen anime, I have to say.
Yeah. And I mean, I love both those flavors. I like chocolate and vanilla, so it's fine. So before we get too crazy here, guys, with the actual topic itself, just a quick announcement for you guys. Jaden dropped this on us about a couple days ago and wanted me to give a quick shout out. But we have been charted on the Apple Podcasts in 3 different countries, meaning as far as Apple goes, our podcast has been charted. Like, we are actually numbered. And the 3 countries, we are position 196 in the United Kingdom, 143 in Australia, and we are number 6 in France.
Number 6?
Now, if you ask, we are number 6 in France, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you ask me what any of that meant, I could not tell you, but thank you.
Come on.
I feel really bad that I have to say it like that, but I don't have any other way to word it, and I'm sorry. But thanks to you guys, we actually have positions in charts across 3 different countries, so thank you. And also, before we get too crazy, at least you're listening, and I appreciate it. And before we get too into the actual topic itself, we also have a voicemail from one of the ones who couldn't be here today with us. Jaden left us a voicemail to listen to, because before we decided to start recording, he went ahead and got some questions from fans about One Piece as a whole. So we're going to go ahead and listen to his. We'll talk a little bit about the topic, and then we'll get to those questions. So we'll start with his.
Yo, Hotshot and Kyo, it's Giant Music sending a voicemail into his own podcast. Okay, I had a quick question for you guys. Considering that One Piece is the longest running anime ever, over 1,000 episodes as we are recording this episode, well, as you guys are recording, because I'm not here in real time right now with you, I want to know, what would you tell someone who's never watched One Piece before to convince them to start watching it, considering how long of an anime it is and how much of a commitment it would be? I would be really curious to know. Thank you, and I hope you guys are having a good episode.
Oh, Jaden. You just had to invade our podcast even when I thought I got a day off, didn't you?
I mean, obviously.
Okay, but... right? I mean, it is his channel. So, I mean, it is a very valid question, though. Like, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who have asked the same thing. That One Piece is a series with over 1,000 episodes, well over 1,000 issues, like manga-wise. And it's very daunting for someone who hasn't started it and been through it from the beginning. And even then, if you watch the dub, you were stuck with the 4Kids dub for a while until they got kicked off. Then the fresh dub started with Funimation. So
I forgot. I have seen the 4Kids dub. I forgot that I watched that with you.
Yeah, that was a trip. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But even if you started it when Funimation started dubbing, you still wouldn't be caught up to where they are, and you still wouldn't be caught up to where Funimation is, probably.
I mean, even they're not caught up.
Yeah, the Funimation dub goes to about 850 out of like 1,100 episodes almost at this point. But but my personal answer to that question is it really depends on the character and the world building and how much you can get into those. Because I knew from the first frame that he showed up, I was going to love Luffy. Like, he is just one of those energetic, crazy characters that just has his own aspirations and dreams and doesn't really care what gets in his way. And we start with like crazy character concepts and crazy character designs like Alvida. She's just this big ass ogre woman with a big ass club and is just knocking people off the ship left and right on her pirate ship. And it's just showing like massive strength and showing that this is a threat. Meanwhile, Luffy's just downstairs just eating bread. So,
apples.
Is it apples? Okay, I thought it was bread. But
I've seen the first episode that many times.
That's fair. But it's just one of those things to me where the characters immediately captured me, and then periodically we introduce new characters. Like we meet Zoro, a lone swordsman who's the stern, serious training type. Nami, the sassy, spunky navigator, will rob you of your own wallet. Chopper, the really cute little reindeer who's just there for the cutesy moe factor, and it works. Like, and these are just the Straw Hats.
Oh,
like, there's a whole lot of other characters.
Don't you dare demean Chopper like that, Austin. You know he's important.
Oh, he's super important. I'm just giving the blankest blurb because there's a lot to talk about.
Don't you dare tell anybody that Chopper is not useful.
Okay, Chopper is not useful. I'm saying this with my fingers crossed.
Yeah. Motherfucker.
Okay. So I mean, and that is just Straw Hats, because there's a whole lot of characters that you're actually interested in. Like the villains, when they get introduced, are actually menacing and tough to handle. And the world building is insane. Like when you start in the East Blue, it's not really all that complicated. It's basically like going from country to country to country in the ocean we have now. But when you go across the Grand Line, oh dear Lord, yeah, that all gets flipped on its head. But for me, it's the characters. Like that is what sucked me into the show. I started watching the show again about 2.5 months ago from episode 1. And I am now past the time skip episode, and that's what we're going to talk about today is pre-time skip. And I did that in 2 months. So pretty much
everything from episode 1 up to, what was it, like 400 or something?
Like 515.
Yeah.
It was 515 about, yeah.
That was a lot of One Piece.
It really was. I loved it, but there were some times where I'm just like, I don't want to see this. And there are other times where I can't get enough of this. It was a roller coaster.
That's bullshit. You were watching it just straight. You just
but there were some episodes. There were some episodes where I'm just like, maybe I should take a break. No, I gotta get caught up.
Did those just so happen to be the days where I was like, you need to slow down?
No, I think on those days, I just went harder. Like, I finished an entire arc when you told me to slow down.
Oh my god.
Just to spite you. I can see me doing that. That's probably what happened.
No, I know you did. It was
what
funny.
About you?
So, like, guys, for context, like, Austin and I work at the same job, and so, like, we had like, what was it, like a week and a half straight of content cleaning.
Yeah.
And so, like, during content cleaning, you just take boxes, you clean people's things, you put them back. That's literally it. But since it's just like you're just working there and you're cleaning stuff, you're allowed to like listen to music, watch stuff on your phone as long as you're still working. Austin just was watching One Piece even through break. Like, he was watching it during work, during break. He even found out that he could watch like Funimation Now, like on his phone, on the go, like with mobile data.
Yeah,
like,
I was hooked.
It was never ending.
Which is fitting. I was hooked, which is fitting because it's a show about pirates.
I mean, fair enough.
Is there a way that you would convince someone who's never watched it before?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head by saying, like, it's a show where, like, you have to be invested in the characters. And I think that's kind of the strength of the series, is just, like, the characters are actually, like, very likable. They all have, like, they all kind of follow the same rule that Pixar seems to follow, which is there's a character writing rule called you admire a character more for what they try and don't succeed at than what they do succeed at, which is kind of what that's kind of what I feel like the characters thrive on. They always fall, but they always get back up again, and that's always I feel like that's a common trope in anime, but it's always effective. So, like,
yeah,
there's also the fact that like they're also relatable in the sense that they all have a dream and they all like will do anything to achieve their dream. And I think that that's something that like pretty much anybody can find common ground with somebody with, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the best way to describe One Piece is that it's very character driven and the world building is really good. I think it's a little bit better than most shonen shows, given the fact that it's the longest running, because it hasn't actually stopped, I don't think. I mean, there's been a hiatus once, maybe, that I recall. But it's not slowed down since it started, and it's been going since, what was it, like 1991, 98?
99, I think we saw.
99, yeah. So, like, it actually has been going for, like, 22 years.
Yeah. But then there's, like another thing that separates it is, take Dragon Ball, for instance. Dragon Ball is still technically going, too. But it's had Dragon Ball...
Yeah,
it's had Dragon Ball Z.
But it did stop.
Hear me out.
Is the thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It had Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Kai, which was just a re-release of Dragon Ball Z, just upgraded.
Yeah.
And there were breaks between all those. It was just different series, but it was still in the same franchise. And then you had Naruto Shippuden, now you have Boruto.
Yeah.
So it's technically still going, but it's had breaks and it's separated into essentially 3 different shows.
Yeah.
One Piece is just One Piece. There's no middle ground. There's One Piece the series and the One Piece movies. And that's it. That's as far as separation goes.
Yeah, they don't the more to your point, like they Dragon Ball, so like technically Dragon Ball never stopped, like OG Dragon Ball. The manga was just Dragon Ball, even though the show was Z. That was just like the marketing for the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like GT was a continuation entirely by Toei, and then Super is also a continuation with Akira or Toriyama's approval. But it does kind of speak to One Piece's quality and like storytelling that it's been going and it hasn't stopped, whereas like all the other shonen shows have stopped, and obviously they came back. Like Bleach is coming back, Super is on, Boruto is a thing, sort of. But yeah, I do agree. Like the fact that it's been going so long is like intimidating, but it's also kind of a testament to like how good it is. But you can definitely get burnt out on it. I think it's best to like, personally, I tried to stick with like what's canon, so like I just follow like the manga appropriate stuff. So like the stuff that's been adapted from the book or from the comic book to the anime. Not so much the filler stuff.
Which I mean is fair because there are some filler arcs and in any show that you just make you want to rip your hair out. But at the same time, I see I personally think there's a benefit to filler because it is more content with the characters that you love, just seeing them in a different light. And like one of my all-time favorite episodes from Naruto is a filler episode.
No, like, yeah, like I'm not dogging on filler as a whole. Like, obviously, we have stuff like for Naruto, one of my favorite episodes is the mask episode where they're trying to find out Kakashi's face. It's a really good character building episode. About. Yeah, I know, because I love that episode too. And with Dragon Ball Z, there's the driver's license episode that everybody remembers.
Okay. Yeah,
and everybody remembers it for a reason because it's funny and it just kind of endears you to the characters more. But it personally, for me, I don't enjoy One Piece filler because I feel like it's really derivative and it's really repetitive, I guess is the better way to describe it. It feels like somebody trying to be Ichiro Oda's style, and it doesn't always work for me. Because, like, what
you mean, like
One Piece is really weird on its own, but somebody else trying to mimic the weirdness, and on top of that, you showed me that episode where a regular arc was going on, then they stop, and it becomes like this feudal Japan episode for like just one episode or so, and then they go back to like everything like it's normal.
For like 2 to 3 episodes, yeah, and that's not the only time they do that.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating and annoying.
I said this in our last episode, in the last Koala Cast episode I did with Jaden and Murel.
Yeah, I
did not know filler hatred until I ran into One Piece filler, and the only reason I ran into filler hatred was because timing. Timing was the only reason that I hated it, because it was in the middle of a big-ass battle, stakes were high, and then it cuts to the next time on section.
Yeah.
And Luffy's like, whew, I need a little breather after all that seriousness. I'm like, I fucking don't. Get to the good shit, Luffy.
Yeah, I know. Like, they break away from it. It's probably because, like, they're trying to give the manga time to catch up, or they just want to they're just doing a deviation because they need to, not because they want to, which is the whole reason why I feel like it's ridiculous.
Which I do understand, like, in the workplace aspect, but when we're streaming it nowadays, it's annoying.
Binging makes it so much worse, actually, if you think about it, because like when it comes to like say if you say like if you're like binging something on like Netflix, for example, and then just in the middle of like a Black Mirror episode, they do an episode that's like really like not related to whatever the show is actually about. So it's just like they just do a complete detour for a whole episode or two, and you're going to be completely distracted by that after you've just been watching something with like an overarching plot. I know Black Mirror is a bad example. It's an anthology, but
it's really weird. I feel like as streamers, though, we're spoiled because we have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're absolutely spoiled because of streaming.
Meanwhile, back when you had to watch it when it was coming out on cable, you had to go through not 1, not 2, but 3 weeks of that filler before the arc you were watching kicks back in. And in the back of your head, you're just like, I forgot everything.
Yeah. That's even worse also, I think. Like, if you, like, say the last episode you were watching, like, the crocodile fight, and you're reaching, like, the climax of that battle, and then the next episode is just like, let's take a break to go see a fucking ball game or something. It was like they're in a completely new location. It has nothing to do with, like, Alabasta or wherever they were. And Vivi's not there or something. Like, they didn't even try to connect it. They're just like, hey, here's this story. Like, nobody likes that.
It's like Mario games where, like, if you stop in the middle of a level and then just play Mario Party for a while and you're on Bowser's team with Mario, like, you're just playing games with your arch enemy and then you just jump right back into that boss fight that you were in. It would
be the equivalent of, like, a Mario Party mini game in the middle of a regular Mario game.
Which, in hindsight, that would be funny because
that would
Mario.
Be funny, actually.
With One Piece, it's infuriating.
I mean, with Nintendo, you kind of expect that because, like, that's just what they do. They just have the characters get together. Like, we play baseball on Sundays with Bowser. Other parts of the week, he's kidnapping Peach, like, quote unquote kidnapping.
Yeah, after he kidnaps Peach. Okay, cool. Same time next week. You still up for racquetball next Monday?
Yeah, and Peach is there
or whatever have you.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, yeah. So back to the actual thing.
Yeah, you're good. Should we start talking about the arcs?
Were there no more questions?
There were 2 more questions, but they involve things in arcs. Do you want to do the questions now, or just talk about the arcs in general?
I'll trust you to just, like, bring them up, like, per arc if they correlate.
So when we start with Luffy in the East Blue. So the coordinates are the East Blue, the South Blue, the West Blue, and the North Blue. Where we start, it's East Blue, and that's all we see. We don't get to see, like, the North, South, East, or West, or North, South, or West. We only see the East. But the first one we start with after he takes down Alvida on the ship, which I briefly talked about, is the Romance Dawn arc, which is where we run into Zoro. Which I know that's, like, the second episode, but still, that's what is technically counted as.
So the first episode's not counted as part of the arc?
The first episode is, but it's just counted as part of that arc because it's like first episode. It's like basically the first 5 episodes.
No, yeah, I got that. I just thought that it. I don't know. I thought it sounded different.
No, you're good. Something that amazes me though in that arc in general. Mm-hmm. Luffy isn't the only Straw Hat that's in the first episode. Nami's also there. She's not a Straw Hat yet, but she has been there since episode 1.
You know what's funny though? She's not actually there in the manga.
Oh no?
No, that's something that the anime did.
Okay.
No, yeah. Well, so, like, the manga starts out with the you know how, like, there's the flashback that shows Luffy with Shanks and the crew.
Oh, that's where it starts?
That's where the manga starts, yeah.
Okay.
It actually shows it actually shows, like, Luffy, like, stabbing himself in the face for the scar. Like, that's the opening of the manga. And I'm like, okay, I'm hooked. No, yeah, that's how,
like,
that's how I felt when I opened up the book.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of glad we got it the way the anime did it, though, where we learn more about Luffy and then learn about his past, like we do with the other Straw Hats.
No, yeah, I think it's a good way to. I think it's a good way to do it. I think either way really works. I prefer the manga version personally, but I still like how the anime handles it.
Yeah, which, I mean, to each their own. Like, yeah, both ways are good though.
No, either way, it's One Piece. I like both. I like it just in general.
Yeah, that's fair.
Go ahead.
So when we start the Romance Dawn arc, when Alvida's ship makes landfall, we run into Zoro with Luffy and Kobe, a little pink-haired man who wants to be a Marine, and he is wimpy as all get out. But we see Zoro essentially being crucified. He's tied up. He's held up on a wooden T and just being forced to starve. And we don't currently see him being beaten, but he is beat to hell. And that is our intro to Romanora Zoro. And the fact that our start is seeing the fighter of the crew beat all to hell and still saying no is kind of awesome to me.
Well, that's a good way to introduce your character. That's kind of how you want a swordsman character to be. You want him to be strong-willed. So, like, that's how you show that he's strong-willed, by showing him, like, being in a situation where he has to be. So, like, but really then you have, like, character.
But then you have the, like, this is only in the 4Kids version. You have this blonde hair guy, like the son of a Navy admiral. He's not an admiral. The son of a Navy captain who holds Kobe hostage when he catches Luffy talking to Zoro. And in the 4Kids version, it looks like a shower head connected to a spring and a whole other bunch of things and has a trigger. It looks like it's just going to like hammer him lightly. And then in the original, it's just a straight up gun to the head.
That's like towards
there's
the
real
end of
stakes here.
That's like towards the end of it, though, where that happens.
That's before he lets Zoro go, like before he gets Zoro untied. But
yeah.
But at the same time, I just wanted to bring that up because it's still something that stayed in my head from seeing it from 4Kids. Because no one in their right mind can still tell you what in the hell that thing is.
Oh my god!
I do not know. I'm afraid of it because I don't understand it.
That's the fear of the unknown, right?
And it's nowhere more apparent than in the 4Kids dub of One Piece.
Oh my god. I kind of liked it. I'm not gonna lie, from like the episodes that I saw, I actually kind of liked some of the dialogue choices. I thought it was a little bit more like colorful. But then they get to like parts where like there's violence and then it's really, really bad.
Oh, like when Luffy's fighting Crocodile, I'm angry and I'm wet. It's just, there's some gems in the 4Kids dubbing that you kind of have to see because it's amazing. Like, Crocodile says, I'm flushing a turd down the toilet when he's talking to Luffy after making a sand pit.
Your desert duty.
It's kind of amazing. Your desert duty. It's kind of amazing because Crocodile is not the character who would ever say that ever. And that's what makes it so hilarious to me, because they break him so much, and as well as other characters. but let's just say you can't watch, if you're an adult, you cannot watch the 4Kids version of One Piece without some form of, shall we call it, a helping hand? Because there's no way you're going to get through this willingly.
It's
and completely
so much
sober.
fun to watch in the 4Kids dub, though. I actually still have all the episodes on my hard drive.
Not going to lie, I might go through some more with you. Like, we'll jump into later arcs.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I want to see some crazy stuff.
I want to see Smoker's, like, like gaping mouth without the fucking cigar.
Oh, jeez.
His giant teeth are just, like, separated by, like, an inch.
But smoke is still coming out.
Yeah, it's still coming out. What the fuck?
Or Don Krieg, when he's firing things at Luffy. In the original, they're like spears, like jagged things that actually stab into Luffy as he's firing.
Uh-huh.
In the 4Kids version, they're just stick-em darts, like plunger darts that just stick to Luffy's body.
Here's the funny thing, though. You could still see that being in One Piece, like, kind of.
You can, but like not by Don Krieg. You could by
the tone of One Piece kind of fits that.
But Don Krieg comes to the patisserie as this threatening, overlooking, like overlord kind of character. Like everyone in Sanji's restaurant is afraid of him.
Yeah,
and he's shooting you with Nerf darts. And meanwhile, he is Luffy, just one punch and he's gone.
Yeah. Obviously, the 4Kids dub is like infamous for being like really bad. So like they cut a lot of stuff. For those who aren't in the know, they cut a lot of things. They cut a lot of episodes. What was it? So like of the first 100 episodes, they cut 30. They cut 30 episodes. So that left them with like 70. And then on top of that,
that's like one arc worth.
Yeah, probably. Like, they probably cut a whole arc's worth at least. But on top of that, there are edits like the hammer thing that the son of the captain uses to threaten Kobe. There's the super
Let's just
soaker.
call it the shower hammer.
Yeah, the shower hammer. There's the super soaker
That's
on
what I'm calling it.
Smoker's back.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they changed it to a super soaker. And they also changed his name to Chaser.
Instead of Smoker.
Yeah.
Which I can... Okay, the one concept you brought up on Smoker, I can actually kind of understand. Because he's still made of smoke. So just seeing the smoke come out of his mouth kind of makes sense. Because it's just like, it's part of him.
Yeah.
So it somewhat makes sense. However...
You can kind
Smoker
of get away
is
with
more
that.
Yeah, but Smoker is more of a badass with the 2 cigars in his mouth.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say otherwise.
Except no substitutes.
I fucking love
2 cigars or
except
nothing.
no substitutes.
Yeah.
I fucking adore Smoker. He's probably my favorite Marine character.
Really?
Do not do him dirty like this and give him a squirt gun. That's not okay.
There's another stupid edit that I remember. Like, there's a scene where I think Arlong had like a pistol in his mouth, but like instead it's just like a block. So like they just point it.
Oh,
so like
that's
there's just a
right.
block, so they got rid of the gun. But it's like,
Yeah,
what is
okay,
he?
so
What is the other
imagine-
person holding then?
So adult audience, imagine this. You see a giant fish shark man with a gun in his mouth. Okay, in anime that makes sense.
Yeah.
But in the 4Kids family-friendly version, you see a black sensor bar pushed into this man's mouth. That's not okay. That's a different kind of show, and
know.
it's definitely not 4Kids anymore.
I do want to recommend.
it's-
I do want to recommend the 4Kids
like there's a
dub,
whole-
if only because Usopp is voiced by the guy who plays Sonic in Sonic X,
Oh no.
and it's fucking bad.
It's like, so in the form of censorship like 4Kids did, it's so bad. So like so one form of censorship that's going around nowadays, and I hate this, is they're changing the color of blood from red to white. And there's one scene in One Piece that is Zoro absolutely covered in blood and scars from a massacred battle.
Yeah.
And it's dripping from his mouth and just all over his body. And it's just patches of white dripping liquid.
That looks wrong.
It looks so wrong, and I'm just like, oh my
You
god, you're not
arguably made it
helping. You're
worse.
making you're making it far worse. It is very bad. It is so bad.
Is this a recent thing? The newer episodes?
This a recent censorship thing, yeah, but people have gone back to previous episodes or previous like pages in manga and edited it in that censorship style. And it is horrendous. It is so bad.
So wait, is this something that's happening in the show? Like, actually? Or is this just like a joke that was being done online?
So the censorship is real.
Oh.
I don't know if it's currently happening with like some versions of screening like in different countries or what have you, but I do know that people have been making a joke of it by going back and doing the older stuff in that style. But it is a current form of censorship with
It might be
with
like
newer things coming out.
It might be like either like the Chinese or another country's censorship.
Or another country like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
So
China has some weird broadcasting rules.
yeah. So I'm thinking, and this is what I'm discussing with you. We discussed about going through the arcs one by one. And I think a more general discussion about everything would make a lot more sense. Because even if we spend 5 minutes per arc, we're going to be here for like 3 hours. Which I'm not really minding the time. At the same time, guys, I'm not going to overload you with so much. This might even be a part 1 of One Piece. We don't know. I'll talk to Jane about that.
Yeah. Anyway, where do you want to start then?
So we talked a bit about Zoro, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that one off.
Okay.
So after Zoro gets free, he and Luffy, they don't kill the captain that was having Zoro executed, but they do horribly beat him. And Luffy topples the statue made of him, crippling him, and officially making him and Zoro even more wanted by the Marines. And Luffy says goodbye to Kobe. Kobe starts on his quest to be a Marine. And Luffy's quest officially begins as a pirate. And something that I actually didn't know until rewatching this, the captain's son, he actually starts Marine training with Kobe. And he is actually with him throughout his entire Marine career.
Oh.
I did not know that until I watched it, because he doesn't show up again until Water 7.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then we have so if we just jump on to the next arc or the next major one.
How about this?
Next one is go ahead.
How about this? We'll just go over like some standouts for each arc. Like what are some of your favorite scenes or favorite
so next up we have Orangetown, which I don't know if you remember that one at all.
Buggy's arc.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
So that's the introduction to Buggy the Clown, and God help me, I actually really like Buggy. he's just one of those characters that like I go in ready to hate, but he's just so wacky and gets away with practically everything by doing nothing. I can't help but actually love him. And it is the real introduction to Nami. And oh dear Lord, Nami. I know I'm not the only one on the internet that says I adore Nami.
You will certainly not be the last either.
I will not be the last. I was not the first. I am just one of the many masses.
Welcome to the horde.
Yeah, right. The thing that stood out most to me in this actual arc itself, though, was Buggy and his devil fruit. Because Buggy's devil fruit allows him to not be defeated by the sword no matter what. And he even faces Mihawk later, and Mihawk can't beat him. Mihawk, the strongest swordsman in the world, cannot beat this fucking pirate clown that does nothing. He is the pirate who don't do anything.
It's kind of funny when you think that like the character is pretty much just made as a joke, and he's actually just that funny.
He's made as a joke, like us as an audience and Luffy as the Straw Hats doesn't take him seriously. Yeah. But now he's one of the 4 warlords.
And it's like, kind of funny when you think that like he basically has that position because he wore down the last person who had that.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, no, that's right. Warlord. Yeah. So Warlord, he got handed that pretty easily. I wasn't thinking Warlord, sorry. He does get that before time skip. But where we're at right now, he's one of the emperors. He's Shanks level.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For just bullshitting his way through it. And I find that kind of amazing.
It also just kind of speaks to real-life management, if you think about it.
Really, when you think about it, yeah. But the way that Luffy beats him in this arc when they first meet is by tickling his bare foot when he's chasing Nami, and then stubbing his toe on the ground because Buggy's devil fruit power lets him come apart from himself, like take pieces and bits of himself and float away, but his feet have to stay on the ground. So it starts with Luffy just tickling his feet while Buggy's flying away, and then just slamming his toes into the ground. And it's... it hurts. And then at the end of everything, Nami ties all of Buggy's parts. They fire it out of a cannon. So Buggy only has his head, his hands, and his feet. And that's it.
The best part about that is, like, as a manga reader, like, up until Buggy actually does come back, is like you're just seeing like all of Buggy's story, like after that arc is shown like as eye catchers, like in between chapters. So like it just shows like his journey. So like I know in the anime it's like all like 1 or 2 episodes, but it's kind of funnier when you kind of see it as just like they're just showing him like in between chapters of like the big story, and then he still comes back into the real story. So you kind of have like this you kind of have like this weird attachment to him because like he's still been there through the whole journey technically, but you haven't seen him like partaking in the main story. I just like the way that it ties back into, or like how he ties back into the story in the manga.
You know who Buggy actually really reminds me of, thinking about it now?
Joker.
Ludo from Star vs. Forces of Evil.
Oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, he kind of does. He starts as a joke character.
He starts off,
and then he comes back as like Ludo comes back as like a decent threat, like at least once.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, in the case of like, Buggy starts off with an actual sizable ship and crew, like Ludo does. He starts with some loyal subjects, but then has everything ripped away from him, like they do with Buggy, and fire him out of the cannon, and then he's on his own until the end of Impel Down, and and just coming back with when he makes his actual big appearance back into the limelight, he becomes a warlord of the sea. So it's just like there's a lot to unpack there with a clown that can go at you with a tornado of blades. Long story short, I like Buggy.
He is kind of a fun character. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I think the my favorite thing is that like the entire time during that journey, he's just stubby. He's just a head with like appendages, and that's it.
Which you would think is disturbing, but for some reason for Buggy, it makes sense.
It like, does, and it's also just kind of
body
cute.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah. And then after they defeat Buggy, the next arc I have here is the Syrup Village arc, and that's Usopp's town.
Oh yeah. I actually do
you remember it?
I do. Yeah, that's one of the chapters that I read. Like I read through start to finish on that one.
You remember Kuro?
Yeah, I do. I actually liked Kuro as a villain. I thought he was a really, really good villain.
I mean, a butler that will stab you in the back and because he's secretly a pirate. Yeah, no, that's someone you don't want to mess with.
No, that's a cool like evil backstory though. Like he's doing it all just to like gain her money essentially because she doesn't have any family.
And my heart melted for Kaya.
Yeah,
like the somewhat relationship between Usopp and Kaya, because Kaya was told that she was deathly sick, couldn't leave the house, and the only company she had was Usopp coming up and telling her stories, which were tall tales, but he was lying, saying that he was the one that participated or that did all of that stuff. And I just found that really cute because it actually lifted her spirits, and he's only doing it to make her happy. And
it kind of adds to his character. Like it shows that he is a liar, but he's not doing it to make himself look better. He's doing it, or it's kind of just a habit for him more than anything, and it's something that's hard for him to get away from. But he only does it but like when he lies for like a good reason, and it happens to make somebody feel better, or oddly, in the case of Kaya, like I do agree with you. I think that's really, really cute. Like how he comes over and he tells her stories, and like aside from the butlers, like that's all the company she has, and it is kind of really sweet.
And lying actually does partake in Usopp's fighting style too. Like I'm not sure if he does any of it through the Syrup Village arc at least, but he's known for having his 5-ton hammer or his 10-ton hammer. And it's really just like a big ass balloon and a cardboard tube. But when he pulls it out, his enemies are just seeing a hammer that says 5T on it and are panicking. He actually makes one character later on faint because of it, because he's scaring her so much.
I don't think that was in it. I don't think that was in there. I think that was a later thing.
It was a later thing. I don't think it was in the syrup, but he does lie to his enemies, saying like he has a legion of 8,000 men under his command and stuff like that, or lying and saying that he's an easy target when really he's luring them into a trap. So lying is a big part of his personality. Yeah. But he hardly ever uses it as to swindle people out of something.
Yeah, like I said, he's not doing it to be mean or to be evil. It's just like, it's a habit, but it's also part of his character.
Like he does use it to try and get himself out of trouble. It never works, but he still tries.
It's kind of like the best way I can describe it is like it's kind of like a wimpier version of like Han Solo in a way. Like he's the scoundrel that lies, but he's not lying for like any particular gain. He just kind of does it because it makes him appear better to strangers.
When you think about it, he's kind of mirroring Kuro. Like, Kuro's lying to Kaya to kill her and take her estate and everything else. But Usopp is doing it to make her feel better and, like, not as a malicious person.
Yeah.
He's not doing it for any kind of advantage. He's a liar with a golden heart.
Yeah, there's something to be said for, like, lying being kind of a recurring theme for that whole arc. And it kind of ties together with Usopp's character and Kuro's character, like how they're kind of opposites, but they're also kind of the same.
Yeah, but then one of the most important milestones happens in this arc: the Going Merry.
That's true. That's where the goat ship comes in. I love that shit.
I fucking adore the Merry so much. Merry's a good ship. And
to me, like, the Merry is like the iconic. To me, it's the iconic One Piece ship. Like that's the One Piece ship. Like the Sunny is also the One Piece ship, but it's not.
to you, it's Merry, and honestly, to me, it's Merry too. Like, I like the Sunny fine, but it's not the Going Merry.
Yeah, there's a certain there's a certain charm to it. It's really hard to explain. I can't tell if it's it's a simple looking pirate ship, and like the only really big characteristic is that it has the goat at the head. But it's cute. It's kind of goofy, but it's also very fitting. The Thousand Sunny is a good ship too, but it's a little flashier in my opinion.
I think it's because the Going Merry actually feels like a pirate ship. Like when you're walking on the floor, it's actual board. Their resting area was
the Sunny is too. It's just like the Sunny has more of a.
Well, that's the thing.
The Sunny has a technological edge to it. Is the thing.
Yeah. Well, okay, so when you think of the Merry, you think of a normal pirate ship, like the boards, the hammock, stuff like that. But the Merry has grass, the Merry has boosters, the Merry can go underwater, the Sunny can fly. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff the Sunny can do because it was built by Frankie that the Merry can't. So when you think about it, the Sunny is a better ship, but to me, the Merry is more iconic.
Somehow the Sunny, the Merry has like more personality to me. Like it's very simple, but it's also very, it just kind of encapsulates like the earlier seasons of One Piece. Even though like
not
part
only
of that is
that,
the fact that I feel like part of the Merry's existence is to show like how outclassed the Straw Hats are, just because their ship is so simple and so small. And it's not it's not equipped to be the Pirate King's vessel. But it's also kind of sad when you see that ship has to go.
Not only that, but when you realize the Merry somehow kind of comes alive.
God, I hate that detail. It's so awful.
I hate that detail too, but the fact that it comes alive and saves them, and then 5 minutes later they're burning it. Yeah. It's like, haunted ship! Light it ablaze!
I love you, Luffy! Someone burn the ship, it's talking to me!
Save the food, burn the ship! Captain's supposed to go down with the ship. First. I'm not a captain yet. Luffy's and sandwiches first.
Yeah.
Actually, why do I like that so much? Did you have anything else on syrup?
No, not really. I feel like the ending of it, like, unfortunately, is like the best part of it, because like the kids from the island are not that interesting or funny, in my opinion. I think they're kind of bland. But I mean, that's to be expected. Sometimes kid characters just kind of are. But
the ending of it with Usopp getting ready to ship out on his own.
Yeah.
And Luffy's like, what the hell are you doing? No, get on the ship. Get on. He's like, why do you want me? You're going out to sea. We're going out to sea. I don't really see the problem here. Which, I mean, he had a point.
I like how Luffy is just like, you're part of my crew now, and you don't have a say.
Here's the thing. He does that to everybody.
It pretty much
even
he
when
does,
they're like,
yes.
no one more famous for that than Robin, but to everybody, he's like, I decided you are going to be part of my crew. I don't care what you want. This is what I'm telling you.
He's just like, to be honest, your compliance is not a factor.
And it never is, apparently.
Yeah, it never will be, because Luffy does not ask for consent when it comes to being part of the crew.
He really doesn't. He's a horrible human being.
But at the same time, he is giving them like the opportunity of a lifetime to fulfill their dreams. So,
yeah, okay, you got a point. So then after Syrup Village was the Baratier.
That's Sanji's story, right?
Yeah, I just can't remember how they actually pronounce the restaurant.
I wouldn't even try personally.
Yeah, I know it's French, but yeah, no, that's Sanji's arc.
It's French for don't even try.
There you go. A restaurant in the middle of the ocean that accepts the comings and goings of Marines and pirates alike, and just the concept of that was amazing to me, because it's just like this is a whole series about people just being on the ocean.
Yeah. So
why not actually start a business in the middle of the goddamn ocean, which on paper sounds like a horrific idea, but his restaurant is like one of the most successful in the world.
Yeah. I mean, like,
so
that
really
kind
no
of
one else
reminds me
capitalized
of
on it.
that kind of reminds me of like Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, like where there's the park where like the humans and the mutants can live together, or can just both visit, and there's no like outside manipulation to it.
Yeah. One thing I actually do love about this restaurant, like, we don't see it used for this purpose, but it has wings that it can unfold. Like, not for flying, but so, like, people can dine outside, like, on the ocean view.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, you can... But we, yeah. When we use it for fighting. So, and then we meet Sanji, who annihilates another Navy captain, and just... I think he just like spits in his food or something, or just smashes the plate in the captain's face, because the captain's doing nothing but complaining about the food. I can't remember how Sanji punishes him other than beating his ass, but I know he beats his ass.
Yeah, I think he was either insulting the food or like while still eating it, or he was I think he might have been just talking shit about the captain, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think it was more about the food.
It's been a while since I got to that point, yeah.
Sanji can be summed up in 3 things, and 2 of them have to do with food.
Yeah.
1, appreciate food. 2, do not waste food. And 3, if you're a woman, I immediately adore you.
If you're a man, I hate you.
And that happens with every female he meets in the freaking series, and it's to the point where it really annoys me.
Doesn't he get better as it goes on? Like,
I thought, but no. At least not where I am right now.
I mean, we haven't watched it in a little bit, but still.
He shows some restraint, but as the episode goes, we see Sanji's backstory, and honest to God, a lot of the Straw Hats have really, really sad and depressing backstories.
That's one of the strengths
like,
of
it's no wonder they want to go out to sea.
Just of the show in general, is like the drama is actually really, really good. Like,
yeah.
you don't always get
especially
that in
since
shonen sometimes.
But this backstory does something a little bit different. Like, I'm not saying Sanji's specific backstory does. I mean, One Piece doing backstories does something a little different. It all actually happened when they were kids. Like, instead of like 2 or 3 years ago, this is how they were brought up. Like, around this kind of horrific upbringing. Like, when Sanji was a kid, his ship exploded due to Zeph invading, because Zeph at the time was a pirate. And then Zeph and him were stranded on an island where Sanji and Zeph had to survive for like 3 months on a week's worth of food. Zeph did not give Sanji any of the treasure, but he gave him all the food. Sanji didn't know this, and instead Zeph ate his own leg. So there's a whole lot of things to unpack there. I'm giving like the bare ass minimum, but true. There's a lot to think about there.
I think it makes sense for them to, like, when they do talk about like the main characters, like the Straw Hats, when they're kids, I think that's like the best place to start that kind of those kinds of backstories, because like that's the really formative years for their characters. That also kind of just helps like set the stage for what they're going to be like when they're older.
And kids are like super impressionable, especially by their environment.
Yeah, exactly.
So like if you're around that kind of atmosphere from when you're a kid to when you're, most of the Straw Hats at this point are like 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there.
Young adult age.
It's gonna be a part of you. And Sanji, like, we don't discover what happened when he was a little kid until way later. Like, I don't even actually know what happened.
We're ways out.
But it's not good. Like, when he's, like, with his actual birth family.
We're a ways out from that one.
Like, yeah, it's bad, though. But then, so this is the one where Don Krieg comes in, which we already talked a little bit about, where no one on the ship wanted anything to do with, like, fighting-wise. Meanwhile, here's Luffy just charging through bullet spears, punching through a cloth of spikes with absolutely no fear, and just obliterating this man. And, yeah, no, that just speaks to the testament of, like, how little fucks Luffy can give if you're his enemy. This is why you want to be on his crew and not against him, because he will lay you out.
I think that the strongest part of that whole arc is just Sanji's backstory and his introduction. I'm not
honestly, I think so too.
I don't find the fight as memorable personally.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still an awesome fight in my eyes.
I mean, a One Piece fight is still a good fight. It's just like there are the lesser fights that you just don't think about that much.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think of the fight with Kuro a little bit more fondly than I do this.
Really? I'm actually the opposite way. Like when it comes to Kuro himself, I think more of fighting his subordinates than I do actually fighting him. But Don Krieg, like, he didn't really have any subordinates that lasted longer than 5 minutes. But most of what Usopp fought were Kuro's subordinates until Luffy got back in the fight.
I mean, like, in terms of, like, what I find more memorable, I find the final battle with Kuro a lot more memorable than I do Don Krieg.
No, that's fair.
I also really liked the detail of like how Kuro like lifts his glasses with his palm, because like that's how he got used to doing it, because he didn't want to scratch himself.
Yeah, and how that was a telltale sign to like his crew thinking that he gone soft because he'd been a butler for 2 years.
Right.
But since he still pushed his glasses up the same way, he hadn't gotten rusty at all or forgotten how to use his finger knives at all. And it was... I love those weapons, but they're exceedingly long. Like, I'm used to Freddy Krueger, like, maybe like half a foot of blade out. But Kuro went from, like, when he was raising up to his shoulders, almost went to the ground on all 10 fingers. It was kind of horrendous.
Well, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, as far as, like, what's more memorable, I still find, like, you remember all that stuff about Kuro more than you remember, like, all that stuff, like, anything about Don Krieg.
The two things I remember most about Don Krieg is Luffy charging through the bullet storm.
Yeah.
And then punching through that cloth.
No, yeah, that's badass. Like, that's...
And that is what I remember.
That's, but in my eyes, like, that's Luffy being more badass than it is, like...
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don Krieg himself, I remember... little to nothing. I know he had a lot of weapons. I don't know what they are. Kuro, I could tell you what he did.
There are some lesser lesser One Piece villains, and I think Don Krieg was kind of one of them.
I feel like this next arc though covers like a lot of those things. Like a good villain, a good story, a badass fight. And the next one is Arlong Park.
Can I be like a little presumptuous and say that like Arlong Park is kind of the Frieza saga of One Piece?
I mean, if you want to say that, go ahead. I'm just going to say that this arc was not easy for me to watch because it centers around Nami, probably my favorite Straw Hat outside of Luffy, and just seeing her story. Oh, dear God, Sanji, suck it up. You had nothing compared to this.
I mean, you haven't gotten to his actual backstory as a child yet, so I would hold your tongue for now, but still.
Oh wow, mommy and daddy didn't love me.
Damn.
Just saying.
Go on, say your piece.
So with Nami, she and her sister, well, almost sister. They weren't really related. Anyway, she and her sister found in an abandoned, burned village by an ex-Marine who gave up the Marine life to raise up these two girls. Eventually, Arlong took over and started charging fines to letting people live. I can't remember her name. Nami's mom.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either, but unfortunately.
Okay. But Nami's mom had paid, but not enough to cover all three. And she gave the money to let the girls survive. And Arlong in place killed her. And then Nami decided to play the long game, which was be the navigator for Arlong, because she was already showing promise of being a navigator.
No, I thought that it was... wasn't it the... like, they forced her into it, basically. Like, she didn't even get the choice.
They forced her into it at first because they saw the star charts that she was drawing. But then, after she was there for like a year, decided to play the long game. And the village would hate her. No one would want anything to do with her. But she was doing it for the village to try... because she made a deal that she would get 1 billion berries in order to buy the island
didn't
back.
she, like, get to that point, but, like, he didn't honor it?
She got to that point, but instead of Arlong finding it, he ratted her out to the Navy. And then the Navy found the 1 billion berries, and then she would have had to start from step 1. Because they confiscated all of the money.
Again, I remember this one decently, but obviously I don't remember exact details.
Yeah. The two scenes that stand out specifically to me in this arc are the ones where Nami is stabbing herself repeatedly in the shoulder to remove the Arlong tattoo.
Yeah.
And when Luffy gave her his straw hat, like for that moment.
Because he has to come back for it.
And then because he has to come back for her.
Yeah.
And then the Straw Hats versus the Arlong Pirates.
That is a really... That is a really drawn out... Like I said, I think it's the Frieza fight of the series, because it's really long, it's really drawn out, and it's very, like, nail-biting, because there are a couple scenes where they try to drown Luffy, and Luffy almost fucking dies.
Yeah, but one person grabs his neck and stretches it out to the far side of the ocean. I mean, it's kind of amazing to see.
Another part of just, like, why I love One Piece is they always find a way to, like, incorporate Luffy's stretchiness into some kind of joke.
Yeah. And then just the way that he starts this fight, too. Like, after he talks to Nami, he just bursts into Arlong Park and asks which one of you is Arlong. And Arlong's just like, that'd be me. And then he just straight up punches him across the entire courtyard. And saying, that's for making my navigator cry. Like, just that start of a fight, you know he's done.
Yeah, that's when you know Luffy is out for blood.
When it's that meme, and I actually love this meme because it has to do with multiple different characters. It's when he stops. Be afraid of him when he stops smiling, and then be afraid of him when he is smiling, for like heroes and villains alike. Like, be afraid of Goku when he's not smiling. Be afraid of Vegeta when he is smiling. Yeah, when Luffy's not smiling.
Yeah.
Run. Or pray to God you're not in his line of fire. Just this whole big drawn out fight, like, not even just Arlong and Luffy, but Hachan and Zoro.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a big octopus fighting for me, Zoro. Is that fight.
Oh God. Okay, thinking of that made me think of another moment. So in the previous arc, we had a mini fight of Zoro and Mihawk, and that's where Zoro got the scar across his chest. In this arc, Zoro was still bandaged up because he was beaten pretty bad in that fight. Arlong is holding Zoro up completely helpless and grabs and rips off the bandages that are covering that Mihawk scar. And the scream that Zoro does in response to it, it's bad. It's really bad. But at the same time, it's one of those things that are really bad, but it still sticks with you.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's kind of the important thing.
Like I said, I feel like it's the Frieza level, or I feel like it's the Frieza arc of memorable, or like level of memorable for One Piece. Because Arlong himself is also really cool. I love his design. I love how like just generally evil he is. I also like the fact that there is a point like later on when they first start the post time skip arc where they bring in the politics of like how Arlong is part of why fish people are still not recognized as people necessarily. So like he kind of led he kind of led like a rebellion against humans with a bunch of fish people is what kind of happened there. So like he's really infamous among his own people.
And I mean it shows, and for good reason.
I think it's like a really good detail, and it also kind of like cements Arlong as like a really imposing figure for the series, like even after he's dead.
Yeah. And one of my other favorite things about the Arlong arc is this is the first time that we actually get to see Luffy's battle axe move.
Oh yeah, that's
which
right.
I know it's just a big ass kick where he extends his leg all the way up and brings it back down. But this is the first time that we see him take down an entire structure to take down the enemy, and I adore it. Because all he wanted to do was destroy the room that he was in, which was the room that Arlong tortured and forced Nami to work in.
Wasn't it his mansion?
Luffy just it was the mansion, yeah, and it was the big house structure like in Arlong Park.
Yeah.
So, and it was filled with Nami's star charts.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
Luffy just burned like all of it. And just completely destroyed the room, and in that aspect, destroyed the mansion on top of it. And then, God, just that entire arc is probably before the Grand Line, at least, like when they're still in the East Blue. That whole arc is probably my favorite part of that entire area. Because if we include the Grand Line, that's going to be a whole other story. I feel like
it's kind of hard to compare.
And yeah, no, you're right. But then after that arc, we have the team that we have until we go to the Grand Line. So we have Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Sanji, and Usopp. Those are the 5 that go to the Grand Line.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And their last stop before starting to cross that path is going to Loungetown. Do you remember Loungetown?
That's Chopper's village, right?
No, that's not. Chopper isn't until the Grand Line.
Then I probably don't remember this bit.
Loungetown was the birthplace and execution site of Gold D. Roger.
Okay, now I remember.
So Luffy only wanted to go here because it was where the legend started and ended. And he got to see the execution platform. There was a bunch of shit that happened. And there was a whole bunch of things that were set into motion in Loungetown. Like, I think that's where we first actually meet Smoker. Like, we might have met Smoker earlier. I don't know.
No, this is where we meet him.
But, okay. So this is where we officially meet Smoker. And I adore it because I love Smoker. He's such a badass.
At least he's actually smoking.
And we meet Takashi. At least he's actually smoking. Yes, if he's not smoking, he's not Smoker.
He's Chaser.
He's Chaser, and he sucks. And he sucks. So we meet Smoker and Takashi, and they're two Marine officers that stay until like the end of the series, I'm assuming. I'm pretty sure they're still around. And Smoker just he's like our first taste of the Lugia fruit, which turns someone's body into an element. So Smoker turns into smoke. And then Takashi is a swordswoman that looks exactly like Zoro's old friend. I, honest to God, before I started watching this again, thought she was, and that she just had her memory erased or something. But no, it's definitely confirmed they're two totally different characters, and it just breaks my mind, and I feel so bad for Zoro having to see this. But this is also where Luffy meets back up with Buggy, and Buggy tries to execute Luffy on the same execution platform as Roger. And like mid-swing, a giant thunderbolt just strikes down onto the execution platform, electrifying Buggy, all of his people, and everyone below him. But Luffy, our little straw hat boy, is made of rubber. Lightning doesn't do shit, and I adore that. And I adore that feature. I really do.
I'm surprised that
I don't remember a whole.
I'm surprised that like Luffy doesn't have any like electricity powers, because like rubber does block electricity, but it also holds a charge.
Yeah. I mean, as far as we are right now, who knows? Maybe he'll actually charge something into that later.
I mean, I doubt it. Like we're way too far for that to be a
I
thing.
do too. But at the same time, we haven't actually seen Gear 4 or let alone Gear 5 of like what they can actually do.
You and I haven't, at least.
You and I haven't. This is something that exists in the One Piece world already.
Obviously.
But you and I have not officially seen Gear 4. So unfortunately, as far as Loungetown goes, that's about all I know. We do know that Luffy gets rescued by a mysterious Revolutionary Army person, because Smoker almost has him, but the Revolutionary Army steps in and Luffy gets away. I think that was the only reason that Luffy wanted to stop there, was because it was the birthplace and death place of Goldie Roger, but that was really about it. And that's... Unfortunately, that's as far as I can remember. As far as Loungetown goes,
I mean, you really don't need to remember that much else, do you?
One of those one-stop ones. No. Okay, guys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna answer those questions that Jaden got ahead for us, like I told you in the beginning. But I think for now we're gonna call this part 1 of One Piece. So what that means is we discuss everything from the East Blue, but we still have the grand line to do before time skip. So, and I can understand that is a whole lot to digest.
Yeah.
So we're going to call this part 1 here from the East Blue. Me and Kyo again will be back for a part 2 for the grand line. And I'll talk to Jaden about that. I'll let you guys know when that's coming. So just stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and get those questions real quick. Because these questions I actually want to get your take on too, Kyo. So our first one is from Perfect Can 1162. Everything you know about the Void Century. And I know nothing. I'm sorry. I really don't. The Void Century is the poneglyphs that Robin is looking for. And she's looking for the blanked out century, the one that was wiped away from all history.
What kind of question is that? Come on.
And unfortunately, I know nothing. Robin probably still doesn't know nothing. I'm even like post time skip. I don't know if she actually knows anything about the Void Century or not. I know Gold Roger knows it, and that's about it. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. That's a very loaded question. And this is already a loaded episode.
And then Perfect Can also had another question. What is Luffy's actual dream? And these are both from Reddit. Luffy's actual dream, bluntly put, is to be king of the pirates.
Did you not watch the show?
He's very clear about this. But I think, well, I mean, okay, to you, I think they're asking, what does king of the pirates entail? Like, what does Luffy actually want? Like, what do you get by being king of the pirates?
That's also kind of a hard to answer question, actually. As far as I know, my understanding is that it's not really a position of power. It's more of a position of respect amongst the pirates. So, like, it's something that you can only attain by essentially climbing to the top. And my assumption is that it also means, like, becoming one of the 7 warlords. I don't know if that's true. Like, you can quote me on that later, I guess.
I feel like you're mostly right. It's not really a position of power. It's more about a position of respect. But Luffy also says the thing that he wants most is freedom. Like the king of the pirates is the most free man on the sea, which means that there are 7 warlords of the sea. There are 4 tyrants of the sea, or like gods of the sea, essentially. But there is only one king, and everyone below the king like respects that title. And the only reason the Navy caught Gold Roger was because he turned himself in. So like even the Navy didn't really fuck with him after becoming king of the pirates until he himself.
I mean, funny enough, like if you think about it, like there's even a point where the Navy doesn't even want, or the Marines don't even want to fuck with like the Straw Hats to a certain degree. Like, and they're not even like that big compared to some of the other pirates that like show up later down the line, but they're still like infamous for destroying like just one warlord, and that's like at the start of the time skip.
After defeating one warlord, his bounty goes up from like 50,000 or something like that to 300 million, to 300 million. So it turns into a whole thing. But I think Luffy's actual dream is just wanting the freedom, like the absolute freedom of the sea, because that's what he wants. He wants to adventure, and he wants the freedom to do that. And that's what I think the King of the Pirates gets. Okay, and we have one more here. I don't really know if you'll have a take on this, but I'm curious. Is Blackbeard... Okay, hold up. This is from Count Meowington on Instagram. Is Blackbeard one person or multiple people? And the only reason that I feel like this is a question is because Blackbeard has multiple devil fruits, and it is canonically implied that one person can hold one devil fruit and that's it. And even when we initially meet Blackbeard, Luffy and Zoro talk to him once in the bar. And then when they're talking to him again outside, they're saying that that's not the same man. Like he has split personality or something.
Okay. I don't have a huge amount of input on Blackbeard necessarily. Like I only have seen like some of what happened with the what was that episode? It was the episode where like him and his crew like start chasing Luffy. And they're trying to get to Skypiea.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious what your thoughts on that are, necessarily.
I, honest to God, don't know how to put this one. Because, to me, Blackbeard seems like one person. But sometimes he's conniving, sometimes he's calm, sometimes he has a short fuse. Like, it seems like he's just the same person, just with massive mood swings. I don't really see anything that definitely makes him more than one person. Unless maybe he's eaten somebody.
I think the implication is that like he's just insane.
That's kind of like what I'm thinking.
Just pure psychopath.
Because so there's a lot of theories as far as Blackbeard goes that he has 2 devil fruits right now, but his devil icon or his pirate icon is 3 skulls. So we're thinking that he's 3 people and that he's going to get a 3rd devil fruit. Like, I do not know how plausible that is. The fact that he has 2 blows my mind. He has Darkness and Whitebeards, and that alone makes him a powerhouse. What in the hell else is he going to grab? Like, really? But I honestly don't know how to answer that. To me, Blackbeard is one person that can just have 2 devil fruits because he is greedy enough to do so. But I do not know.
I like that. I like that thought, honestly.
Yay. Approval. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping up here. Kyo, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Newgrounds. I'm most active on Newgrounds, and you guys can find my website on either one of those sites. You guys can find me at GoProKyo on YouTube, Twitter, and Newgrounds. So if you guys want to commission me, my slots are always open. And I'm just available if you guys need artwork, voiceover, or script writing. yeah, that's it for me.
All right, and you guys can find me right here on Giant Music's channel or on Anime Podcasters, wherever you can hear us, be it here on YouTube, here on Spotify, here on wherever you are right now, hearing my lovely voice. You guys can also find me over on Twitter at Hotshot Ginger and my YouTube channel, Hotshot Ginger, and that's really about it. So, like I said, guys, this is part 1 of One Piece. One Piece is such a massive anime manga franchise that there's way more to cover than just one episode, even if we're covering like half of something. So this is going to be part 1 of the pre-time skip. We will be doing part 2 where it's the Grand Line, and it's going to be me and Kyo, so no worries there. And just keep your ear to the ground, and we'll let you know when that one's coming. So with that said, this has been another episode of
Anime Podcasters Podcast.
I think you got the tone wrong. Anime Podcasters with Hotshot and Kyo Podcast.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.